Second part. When she halted her own horse, Iriya heard a scream. It was the cry of a man, or rather a boy. Swiftly dismounting, she gave her horse a slap on the ass to drive it off, then followed Dee. Following the line of the dome for about 30 feet, she turned right and found him standing there. As Iriya blinked her eyes, another streak of lightning stitched together sky and ground, and the boy in front of Dee screamed again. "Let's get inside, quickly," Iriya urged Dee. Dee crossed to the boy's right and pressed his left hand to a red depression on the dome's surface. "Ah!" the boy exclaimed as he started to fall backward, but Dee wrapped his arms around him and immediately entered the dome through the door that had suddenly appeared. Once Iriya had followed suit, Dee pressed the same hand to an identical depression on the inside, and the entrance closed. At the same time, all of them became tinged with blue from head to toe. The boy clung to Dee's arm. He was scared to death. He wore a jacket, shorts, and thick-soled walking shoes, the typical gear of someone from a family of moderate means on a journey. Likewise, the shoulder bag slung across his left shoulder was standard traveling equipment. While it didn't seem conceivable he was on his own, he also didn't seem to be lost. Neither Dee nor Iriya had seen any travelers who seemed to have misplaced a child. Had his parents gone too far before noticing his absence, or was it as yet unnoticed?
"Relax, kid,"
the hoarse voice said.
"It's just a sterilizing light. The nobility might be immortal, but when their human servants were with them, they couldn't have them tracking in dangerous germs from outside. See, the nobles did show some consideration for humans."
After 3 seconds, the light faded, and a door opened before them. The trio was greeted by a room so gorgeously appointed, it would have made even the most jaded traveler cry out with delight. The shelters of the nobility lacked none of their accustomed luxury. As the boy stood dumbfounded in the white light, the girl coaxed him into taking a seat on the blue sofa, telling him, "I'll have some tea ready in no time. In the meantime, I'm Iriya. What's your name? Meeker?" It was probably thanks to Iriya that his voice sounded a little more composed, though his expression was still stiff, and his cheeks trembled. Given that he looked to be only 7 or 8 years old, it was no surprise that an abode of the nobility on a lightning-covered plain would inspire more terror than curiosity. "You did great on your own. What a good boy you are. Did you get separated from your parents?" He swung his head from side to side. "What happened then?" "I was with Nadia," he said suddenly, in a hazy tone. Tears welled in his eyes. "We came this far. Then she ran off and left me. Ran off. She was supposed to take me to my uncle's place in a town called McRory, but she told me she was just taking the money, and left me here. What am I supposed to do on my own?" With this disclosure, his slight shoulders started to quake as if from a fit, and he hiccuped a few times. He only stopped talking when Iriya gently put her arms around his small form. "It's okay. You're not all alone. No one in this world is. Everybody has somebody. So happens McRory's on our way, and I'll see that you get there. Dee, could I take a shower?"
"Sure, but there's no running water."
The hoarse voice replied.
Running water's taboo for nobles. As a result, the shower is what we got earlier. I hear if a human stands naked in it, it feels about the same as if they'd soaked in warm water. Though I doubt the nobility would have gone to all that trouble.
It doesn't matter either way. Will you hop in with me? The boy nodded. Dee got up, put his hand against the depression on the wall to the left, and once again a door opened, or rather sprang into existence. Not surprisingly, no one but a noble can make use of the amenities, said the hunter. There's no bathtub for humans. Food, however, is a different matter. That's great. As soon as I've had my shower, I'll fix something up, and then we'll have time to hear your tale at length. The boy nodded heartily at Iriya's words. Page break. The nobility shelter was stocked with a sumptuous array of food suitable for humans. Say what you will, but the nobility didn't cheap it on this, did they? On tasting the roast duck, which was on par with the highest quality prepared by the very best of chefs, both Iriya and the boy were astounded.
Making all this appear, dishes and all, with one flick of a switch, the nobles really were incredible, weren't they? These plates are made of gold.
Once the meal was finished, Iriya began to ask the boy, Meeker, about his circumstances. He had lived with his father in a fishing community called Corvalin, but about 6 months earlier, his father had died in a manufactured tornado, leaving the housekeeper, Nadia, to bring him to his uncle in McRory. Once they'd come this far, however, Nadia had said, "I've had enough of this," and nothing more, leaving the boy with only enough money to reach McRory, and taking off with the rest of it, according to him. She's a backstabber. We always took care of her at home, but she left me high and dry here. I'll get her for that. Once I'm bigger, I'll find her and shove her around. Just you wait and see.
Good thing he only wants to shove her around.
The hoarse voice chuckled. With a dubious expression, Meeker looked around and asked, "Is there an old man in here with us?" Iriya clapped her hands together, as if she just thought of something, then took the boy's face with both hands, and turned it in Dee's direction, saying, "Our friend over there is the culprit. He knows ventriloquism." After a moment of bewilderment, the boy gave a nod. The tension faded from his features. In his little head, a minor mystery had been solved. As if to escape the gaze of intent curiosity trained upon him, Dee went to the wall and held it in his left hand. The wall became a window. The world was sealed in darkness. Eyes trained on its depths, the gorgeous and motionless young man looked as if he were pursuing some eternally elusive truth, like a statue that would muse until the end of time. Who would express how vain it was? As Iriya watched him in silence, she heard a faint yawn beside her. "Good night. Sleeping quarters for humans are at the end of the hall." Meeker got out of his chair and went over to the door. "Carp?" he said, raising one hand. Most likely that was a farewell phrase from his hometown. Though Corvalin was a fishing community, it wasn't one of those seaside villages that always smelled of the tides. It was located in the lake region that spread across the northwest section of the frontier. There they caught freshwater fish that rivaled those of the sea in their quantity, variety, strangeness, and danger. Nico's family probably also ventured out onto the lake in ships, selling the fish they caught in the capital or nearby cities and towns. Carp, Iriya replied, and as soon as she'd spoken, the diminutive form disappeared through the doorway, and the door shut. After a spell of silence, Iriya said, "Would you mind if I talked about myself?" "Where the hell is this going?" the hoarse voice said, its remark directed at Dee. "Suit yourself. It doesn't matter either way to me." Dee's reply was directed at Iriya. "It's kind of strange, I can't believe it. This is the first time I felt like doing this. Maybe it's because you're the one they call Dee." Outside the window, the world was bleached white. The lightning burned itself into Iriya's eyes. "You had a kid brother, didn't you?" the hoarse voice inquired, although it was swiftly silenced with a cry. Iriya's far-off gaze never left Dee as she continued to spin her tale. "Her life," she said, "could be divided into everything before age 9 and everything after, into heaven and hell. Her father, the huntsman, her mother, the housekeeper, her older brothers, Jan and Shek, her older sister, Gia, her younger brothers, Paul and Chulos, and her younger sister, Maggie. 9 of them, all told, had lived in the village of Paquilin, in a valley in the eastern frontier. Where they passed their days together in peaceful poverty. Shadows were stronger than light in the valley, and the wind that blustered across the cold surface of the river glittered with white. And there, in a house on the outskirts of the village, her mother awaited her father's return, and baking heavenly sweetened bread from her rations of flour and sugar. Iriya's 3 brothers were charged with butchering the game her father took, and the oldest boy kept aside the most nutritious parts for their parents, but he always saw to it that the littlest ones got the tastiest cuts of meat. And there was one thing the whole family looked forward to on summer evenings. Gia would sing traditional frontier songs to the accompaniment of Shek's guitar. And villagers who'd heard about this would come too, and before long, they were asked to give a performance in the village square. After which a man in the audience suggested they perform in the capital. He was a researcher from the capital, collecting information on frontier songs. Gia was open to the idea, but Shek wished to remain at home. Gia left home that fall, at the age of 15. It was about 2 weeks later that they received word that her party had been attacked by bandits on the way to the capital. The fiery attack had reduced the carriage to ashes. Iriya believed it was that event that gave rise to her parents' silence. And then one day in late autumn, when all the gorgeously colored trees stood against the shadows, and the night was filled with the golden scents of the aging kegs of plum and apple spirits in the basement, they had come. They were dressed in pitch black. They knocked at our door. I thought, who could it be this late at night? Iriya's voice began to crack, and she stopped. And then there was a short pause. And then Dee remained looking at the window. And then lightning flashed once more beyond the window. It was followed by the next sound from Iriya. A scream. There was something in it that was enough to make Dee turn around. His right hand went for his longsword. Second part, end.